Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be showing you guys a Despia Shaddoll deck that I cooked up. One of my students recently got second place at a huge case tournament. So I figured I'd show you guys like the spice that I cooked up, and I'm really excited to show you guys this list. I know a lot of you guys been asking me for like a Despia Shaddoll deck for a while now, so this is gonna be pretty cool. I'm excited to showcase how this deck functions and like you know, like my ideas as I was like building this deck together. So let's get right into it. So we have 3 Alubert, and so these are like kind of like the Despia cards. The thought process of this deck was to play as many broken spell cards as possible in tandem with like the Shaddoll cards. So let's talk about like, I guess, the Despia engine and like what it does. So basically, Alubert adds you any branded spell or trap from your deck when it's no more specialed. And the really crazy effect that this card has is this, where when a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, it can summon itself back from the graveyard, negate a monster your opponent controls. And this is really insane because this effect is actually chain blockable. So like, I remember like there was one game state where I had a construct on the field. My opponent made access code, popped my construct, and I was able to go chainlink 1 Alubert, target the access code, chainlink 2 construct, like add back like Shaddoll fusion, and that basically played around my opponent's Appaloosa, negated his access code, so he couldn't kill me anymore. Which is like really nice as well. And it's really nice because it has like the same kind of like text of like Ray, where like it leaves the field. So like there are multiple ways in which like this card can trigger itself, and it's very annoying because it keeps coming back every time your fusion monster leaves. So I think this card is like really insane as well. Next, this is Dramaturge of Despia. So this is one of the other cards. If you already opened the Alubert, one of the other options that you can summon is Dramaturge of Despia. And what this card does for the deck is basically whenever a Fusion Synchro X-0 Link monster is summoned, it can basically target an effect monster on the field and negates its effect until the end of the turn. So usually on your opponent's turn, if they link summon into like, let's say Isolde, right? It would be chainlink 1 Isolde, and then Dramaturge would then trigger to chainlink 2 Isolde to negate it, which is really nice. So basically any on summon trigger effects will immediately get negated off of Dramaturge. So it's like basically another type of like disruption. And the other cool part about this card is that it's basically free fusion material. If you were to use it as fusion material, whether it gets banished or it's sent to the graveyard, you can summon back this card. So if you like banish it off Schism to make Winda, you can summon back the Dramaturge, and it's another card that your opponent needs to out. It's like 3,000 attack, which is like not easy, and that negating effect is like really powerful. So it basically adds another layer of interruption, another line to your play. I'll keep talking about the rest of the Despia cards because I think, like, you know, that's kind of like I guess that's one of the engines that's really important. So branded opening is really insane. It discards a card and takes either a Despia monster from your deck and adds it to your hand, or special summon in defense mode. And then for the rest of the turn, you're locked into only summoning fusion monsters, which is like not a real restriction, because if you look at the extra deck, we literally play 13 fusion monsters. Branded opening is really nice because the discard effect is not cost, it's actually 4 effects. What this means is that you can trigger your Shaddoll monsters off of branded opening. It's also a quick play spell, so you can use it in your draw phase to play around draw. And it also has a second protection where if a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard to protect it, kind of like Balings. So very strong card. And it's one of the cards that lets you summon Alubert from the deck. And what Alubert does is it searches this card, which is a field spell. It's a 1-of because it's searchable. There's multiple ways to search it, either through Alubert or opening branded opening. But what this card does is it allows you to fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from the deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. So what that means is construct. It allows you to make construct. It also allows you to make the Despia extra deck monsters, and I'll showcase what those are. But basically, it also has a secondary effect where if a face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you actually get to reborn any level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard and summon it. What this does is once you have Construct in circulation and Construct is in the graveyard, you can now like use its effect to bring back Construct whenever your Despia monsters gets outed, or whenever like or whenever your Apclona gets outed or your Winda gets outed. You can basically bring back either Construct or you can bring back Qualerless. So I guess I might as well talk also about the Despia extra deck monsters. So the first one is Quadratus. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, so excuse me for that. But basically what it does is during the main phase, you can make all monsters on the field 0 attack until the end of the turn except level 8 or higher fusion monsters. The other part of the effect is that if this card leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can either add to your hand or special summon one Fallen Valbaz or one Despia monster from your deck. So usually you can float into another Alibert, and Alibert gets you another card, which is branded opening for the follow-up, or you summon back Dogmatika, and Dogmatika is like the interruption. The 0 attack portion is actually very relevant because of Meteonis. Being able to blanket all monsters is really, really nice. But also it makes it so that they also can, like, it's going to be really, really hard for them to attack over or beat over your Winda. Just because they have 0 attack. And the thing is, even though you make your own Winda 0 attack, 0 attack monsters, when 2 0 attack monsters battle, they actually don't, like, none of them go to the graveyard. So something important to know. You don't really, like, make this as disruption more often than not. I usually sometimes make this just to get a light monster so that I can fuse with a light monster as well. And then you have Despian Prosekion. So this card, what it does is during the main phase, you can basically target a fusion, synchro, XYZ, link monster in your opponent's graveyard, either banish it or summon it to your side of the field. And then whenever it destroys an opponent's battleground battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that opponent's original high attack or defense, whatever is higher. So I like this card because it's a super poly target. That's what I use it for. So against the Dragon Link board, what I do is I summon Alibert, and then I go super poly using their Savage and their Hieratic Seal with turn player priority, which basically clears both of their monsters, and then summons back this for me, which is really, really nice. So being able to clear both Hieratic Seal and not letting them get Hieratic Seal's tribute effect to, like, bounce, as well as, like, getting rid of the Savage, because it uses a Despia monster with a light monster with Hieratic Seal and the dark monster with a Savage. So I just mainly use this. I never really hard make this card. I usually use it through, like, super poly, or, like, I do hard make it, but usually it's through super poly. So that's why it's in my extra deck for the Dragon Link board usually. But yeah, so this is also a card that once you have it in circulation, it can keep coming back because of the field spell as well. So that's something to also keep in mind. But anyways, then we played the Dogmatika engine. I like having the Dogmatika engine as a way to, like, you know, combat Dragoon. This deck actually, like, has a very good time against Dragoon because of all the cards we play. But I like having Fleur-de-Lis as well because of, like, all the like, what do you call it? The Tri-Brigade decks running around. Fleur-de-Lis being an on summon, like, negating cards on the field is actually not too shabby just because of hell of Tri-Brigades are running around. And it's also a huge body to help you OTK. I played triple Phantasme because of consistency. I wanted to basically, the way this deck works going second is I didn't want to play any hand trap because I don't want to lose to cross out tactics or call by the grave. So the way I decided to play the deck was play as many broken spell cards as possible and then use Phantasmes to sculpt your hand to have basically a handful of insane spell cards to crack any board. So that's kind of like the theory I had when I was building this deck. And then for the Shaddoll count, I only played 9 Shaddoll monsters. I didn't really want to play too many. I played 8. I really want to play the bare, like, the right amount, and then you can keep looping it through App Clone. That's why I played triple App Clone, because even though you only have one area or, like, one dragon, you can keep looping it to App Clone. So that's pretty much the bare bones that I played, just 8. Triple Bandit opening I explained before. 1 Call by the Grave because, you know, it's just an insane spell card. Call by the Grave, the Ash Blossom is really nice, allowing Shaddoll Fusion to resolve. Is very powerful. Going second into the Dragon Link board, being able to Call by the Grave. The Hieratic Seal is really nice. 3 El Shaddoll Fusion because Tri-Brigade is actually gaining a lot of popularity, even though with the ban list. If your opponent activates Chain Link 1 Revolt, if you go Chain Link 2 El Shaddoll Fusion, the way that it's ruled is that the Tri-Brigade Revolt will actually resolve negated. Or it will resolve without effect, is the better way to explain it, when you use El Shaddoll Fusion into a Winda. So playing the triple El Shaddoll Fusion is really, really nice because it makes it so that your opponent's Revolt will not be able to resolve, or it will resolve without effect, essentially. So which is really, really nice. So they won't be able to summon back all their cards and then link summon to Shurig when you chain El Shaddoll into the Revolt. So it's a very, very strong card. And having a quick play El Shaddoll Fusion makes it so that you can play around the Twin Twisters, the Cosmic Cyclones, something that Schism loses to. So that's why I really, really like having El Shaddoll Fusion in circulation. I play 3 Nadir Servant just, because of, like, the Dogmatika engine. It's one of the best spell cards. Getting access to the Dogmatika cards. I play 3 Shaddoll Fusion. There's no really need to explain it. Shaddoll Fusion literally cracks the Tri-Brigade board by itself. the way you crack the entire Tribal Gate board when they end on Appaloosa Revolt is you go Shaddoll Fusion into an App Clone. You go Chainlink 1, Dragon, target the back row, which is Revolt. Chainlink 2, App Clone, targeting the Appaloosa, and then go Chainlink 3, Aerial, targeting random cards. So you chain block the Dragon and the App Clone, allowing you to make Appaloosa's attack 0, which means that it has some more negates. And then you pop the Revolt, which forces them to activate it immediately. Which is really, really insane. So that's why I really, really like the Shaddoll Fusion. And then we play the 1 Despia Theater of the Brand because it's basically like a field spell poly, which is searchable off the Alibert. 3 Super Poly because it's an insane card at cracking the board. This is how you go second to like the Diatron matchup. Super Poly helps you get there. The Power of Prosperity, just for consistency, I don't want to brick with this deck. You know, I think Shaddoll's typically has like a reputation for bricking, and the games that you lose are the games where you don't get access to your fusion plays. So Product of Prosperity guarantees that you have access to your fusion plays very consistently going first or second. So I really, really like this card. The only card this conflicts with is Shaddoll Beast. Obviously, most of the time you Phantasma on your opponent's turn, unless you're playing against you know, like a deck that makes IP. So it doesn't really conflict with Prosperity. And then you play Rest Shaddoll for like any trap deck grind game, which is really, really nice. And you play 1 Shaddoll Schism, and the last card I play is Golden Lord. It's being able to card to send off of Shaddoll Fusion. It's really, really nice. I think this card is cuttable. It was either this or Punishment. I wasn't really sure which card I wanted to play. But I think this was like one of the light monsters that I decided to play besides like Ecclesiar for the lead that's also sendable. I'll be honest, this is the only card that I wasn't sure on, but I kept it in anyways. Just because it's a big beefy monster that allows you to go for OTKs, which sometimes isn't possible. So that's really it. 40 card main. Just super, super clean, right? Like just 3 of everything that's like insane. And cards that are unsearchable are at 1. If it's at 2, it's mainly for the grind game. And the cards at 1, it means that it's searchable, and I only want to grab it through like searching it. For the extra deck, like I said, the 3 Despia monsters are explained. 3 App Clone because you really, this is one of the best cards to send off Nadir Servant. And it's one of the best cards that allows you to recycle back your used Shaddoll monsters effects already. App Clone also being able to shuffle back fusion monsters or fusion Shaddoll monsters or extra deck Shaddoll monsters in the graveyard back into the extra deck is really, really nice, as well as helping you grind through some of the games, especially games that you have to use Prosperity and banish a lot of your extra deck. 3 Winda, just mainly for the Power of Prosperity. I usually like to banish 1 Winda, 1 App Clone, and then usually 1 Starving Venom. It's not needed. If I want to go 3, if I'm bricking, I want to like banish 6, but typically that's like kind of like my banish theory. So I wanted to like max out the Winda and max out the App Clone. Also for that reason, I play 2 Construct. I think 2 is like perfect. That's all you really need. If you need more, usually it's through Resh. But you have to keep in mind, 2 Construct, I think, is perfect amount just because you're only playing 8 Shaddoll monsters. So because you only have 8 Shaddoll monsters, I think Construct resolving more than 3 times is like super unnecessary. Usually when you resolve Construct twice, you usually already win the game. In Tis, just as a card, as an option to send off of Nadir Servant. Starving Venom because of, I think Super Poly is an insane card, and sometimes you want to be able to Super Poly their card and make Starving Venom, and so I really, really like this card as well. It's also a card that can be made when you go like Anaconda, make one of their monsters a dark, and then Anaconda send a Super Poly in order to make Starving Venom. And this card can get really, really big, so it can help you OTK sometimes, because when it's Fusion Summoned, it can gain a lot of attack. Grab the controller to like link off your extra deck monsters in order to like add back Shaddoll spells and traps. And Anaconda is self-explanatory, just an insane card. Being able to like get access to your Super Polys, Shaddoll fusions, all that good stuff. Next will be side deck is I wanted to basically play cards that were very, very impactful. If I were gonna side into hand traps, I wanted to make sure that they were like basically floodgate-esque hand traps. And so I really liked Joel for that reason. Joel is like a really, really insane card. Same with Nib. These are mainly for like kind of like the virtual matchup. I like Nib because I know that like Super Poly isn't as great into the matchup unless they make Dragoon with Money Mud Dragon. Then I keep Super Poly in. But Phantasma is a card that I know that I'm going to be taking out of my main deck, so I wanted cards that were better into that matchup. So Nib was one of them. Another card is like Cosmic Cyclone, also for the virtual matchup. I actually have I drafted with my with one of the people I coach an entire side deck plan for every matchup in the format. And so if you guys are interested in that, let me know. You can also sign up for my coaching at metafy.gg. I'll explain more of the side probably like in another video. This is pretty much like I like basically wrote down like all the ideas for all the matchups. Cosmic Cyclone basically for the trap deck, Cycle Reader for the Diatron, because Diatron is like a really rough matchup. Even though you have Super Poly, I still wanted to make sure that, you know, post side, that deck like does not win. It's like a crazy FTK deck. So also the tournament that he was going to, he expected a lot of Diatron in the metagame. So I wanted to make sure that he covered that matchup, because he said there was a lot of Diatron players locally. Even though people were traveling to that event, I was like, okay, you know, let's make a meta call. If a lot of people are going to be playing the Diatron deck, then let's play cards that punishes them, or cards that are really good into that matchup post side, so that you have something to basically counteract that. And then 3 Solemn Judgment, mainly for going first. So there's gonna be like a couple dead cards sometimes going first into different matchups. So for example, I know I'm always gonna take out Phantasmas going first, so taking them out and putting in 3 Judgments and keeping the rest of the main deck is kind of like the theory. If you have decks, if you have like for example, matchups where Super Paul is bad in, and Phantasmas is bad in, usually how I would side is going first. I take out Phantasmas and Super Polys. I put in the 3 Judgments and either 3 of whatever hand trap that's good into that matchup. The thing with cards like Droll, Nib, and Cosmic, they're like really, really good into a variety of matchups. So that's kind of like the logic there. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoy the deck profile and the in-depthness of it. If you guys like these type of deck profiles, let me know. I'm going to do more of them. Also, let me know in the comment section below what deck you want to see also featured. I do a lot of deck buildings, one of my favorite things to do within this game. So if you want to see more of that and try these things out, let me know, and I'll be glad to help you with that. So anyways, guys, appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me all the way to the end of the video. And if you haven't already, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.